I will now accept your dissertation on the life of Superman, sir.
I really liked this comment that Ardent Party put up. Let me find it so I can put it on the screen, because it was, there it is. This is kind of what I was going to make my jumping off point in the Superman discussion, because when I watched the new 2025 Superman movie, and I waited to watch it until my son and daughter-in-law were present so that I would have a sort of younger counterpoint to check my reactions, to make sure I wasn't just being a cranky old dad. But the moment when I concluded, and it was pretty early on in the movie, that James Gunn doesn't get Superman, and he doesn't have any intention of trying to make a movie here that is faithful to the whole idea of Superman, was when Jonathan and Martha Kent were portrayed as idiot bumpkin rednecks, just for the sake of a couple of cheap gags, because they don't understand how smartphones work. And like I mentioned to you backstage before the show, I don't know when people from Kansas started talking like they're from the goddamn Alabama Panhandle, but apparently they do, and that's just how much contempt that Hollywood filmmakers actually have for people in the American heartland. But setting that aside, Superman is not a character who you can just stick into any time period in any cultural context and have it work just as well. You can do that with a Batman or a Spider-Man, but you can't really separate Superman with the context out of which he arose. And the context out of which Superman arose is that Superman is an American Jesus myth. And it's just a bit of fun irony that it's a Jesus myth that was dreamed up by a couple of Jewish kids from Cleveland, one of whom was originally from freaking Canada. But the point of it is, it's a Jesus myth that also celebrates the values of the American heartland as they were perceived to exist around the turn of the 20th century. And it's the same nostalgic vision of the American heartland that Walt Disney was celebrating when he built Disneyland, because you can't go anywhere else in Disneyland without walking through Main Street, USA. And he built Main Street, USA to be an evocation of the town in which he grew up around the turn of the 20th century, Marceline, Missouri. But the Jesus metaphor in Superman goes deeper than that, because it goes to his parents too. Because Jor-El, his Kryptonian father, that's the Heavenly Father creator deity. And then he crashes down on Earth in the middle of the American heartland, and Jonathan and Martha Kent are the Joseph and Mary of the story. They are his earthly custodians who are tasked with raising him up and giving him a decent set of values, because Heavenly Father can't do all that by himself. And you can't really make a good Superman movie that either glosses over or ignores entirely the fact that Superman is an American Jesus myth. James Gunn either doesn't understand that or just wants to ignore it completely. Zack Snyder, on the other hand, he did understand the fact that Superman is an American Jesus myth, but since Zack Snyder as a filmmaker is congenitally incapable of any sort of subtlety of any kind, which I think is typified by the fact that in the Batman versus Superman movie, Batman actually hits Superman over the head with a fucking kitchen sink. That's Zack Snyder's filmmaking ethos, boiled down to a single image. But he leaned so absurdly hard into the Jesus metaphor that it wound up insulting the intelligence of the audience. Where the last time he talks with Jor-El on the spaceship and then floats out to go save, he does literally a 10-second long Jesus crucifixion pose. And this is after, in the first part of the second act, where Zack Snyder hits us over the head with the Jesus metaphor so hard that he actually has Clark Kent go into a church and poses him next to an actual picture of Jesus, as if he's saying, see, this is a Jesus metaphor, guys. Do you understand now? Which is, it's just way too over the top. There have been, I believe, 9 Superman movies since the 1978 picture, and only 2 of them I would describe as good movies. The first, the 1978 picture, although it definitely does have problems, I wouldn't describe Superman 2. Even though it does have some good things going for it, I wouldn't describe it as a good movie simply because of all the production difficulties and the change of director and everything that wound up making it such a sometimes absurd tonal mismatch from one scene and often one shot to the next. I think the only other Superman story movie between now and then that I would call a good movie, and some people will laugh at me for this, but it's Superman Returns from 2006, the movie that Bryan Singer made, which was intended as a direct sequel to the first 2 Superman movies from '78. and 80. Do I think it's a great picture? No, but it's better than Man of Steel. It's better than Batman versus Superman. It's a hell of a lot better than this brand new picture that came out this year. I don't know who this picture is for. I don't know what this picture is trying to be. It's kind of the same reaction I had when we talked about Thunderbolts the other week, that if you held a gun to my head and asked me to give you a 30-second synopsis of the plot of this film, I don't think I could do it.
I can't do it right now.
It is just a succession of big set-piece action scenes, and stuff happens in between. And it almost doesn't even matter what the stuff is. Plot elements are introduced and then discarded almost just as quickly. I couldn't really tell you what the story is. It just seems designed only to set up a sequel, which also was the original intended thrust of the 1978 movie. Because if you remember, Superman and Superman 2 were shot concurrently with each other, and they were about 3/4 of the way done with both of them before Richard Donner started falling out with the producer whose name escapes me at the moment. But the guy who was the intermediary between him and the Salkind brothers, the executive producers, and they decided, this is getting so bad, let's just stop work on the second movie, and we'll finish the first movie so that we're sure that we have something to release by the hard release date that we are committed to. And one of the first results of that was they took what was supposed to be the ending of the second movie, and they shifted it to the first movie. The bit where, the bit that just really wrecks a lot of the mythos, where he, flies around the planet so fast that it spins backward and time reverses, and he brings Lois Lane back to life because she just died because he stopped the one missile and not the other missile. But originally, the end of the first movie was supposed to be a cliffhanger for the second movie. The end of the first movie was supposed to be when General Zod and his compatriots escape from the Phantom Zone and arrive on Earth, and then that would have been the first cliffhanger in cinematic history, really. And of course, it ruined a lot of the second movie, which might have been ruined anyway, because Donner said, I'm not coming back to finish the second movie if this producer is still on board, because I'm not going to work with that dude. So best of luck to you. So then they bring in Richard Lester, who's a British comedy director. He's primarily known at that point for directing A Hard Day's Night. And I guess the Salkind brothers must have had their own vision of what they wanted these movies to be, because they had him shoot a lot of really ridiculous slapstick comedy type stuff, which you see a lot of in the New York battle sequence between General Zod and his henchmen and henchlady and Superman, and some product placement too, quite a bit of product placement. They have him throw the villain through a Marlboro truck 2 or 3 times and then throw him into a Coca-Cola sign, which, that's all very subtle. But and I'm not even sure how the second movie was supposed to finish originally, but they finished it in a really stupid way, as it turns out, because of course Superman kisses Lois Lane, and then somehow he has memory wiping abilities now, which is never one of his established powers in any of the comics, but I guess we needed to do that to set up the god-awful third and fourth movies. And you know what else? I don't know how long it's been since I've watched the 1978 Superman, but when you're a little kid and you're watching these things, you really don't realize certain things that you realize when you watch them again as an adult. And specifically, I'm talking about how bad Lois Lane wants to bang Superman. Like from the when he first shows up on her back porch to do his little interview that they're going to do, and she lights a cigarette, and he says, "Oh, you really shouldn't smoke, Miss Lane." And she says, "Well, lung cancer, right?" And he says, and he uses his X-ray vision to scan her lungs, and he says, "Oh, not yet." And then the next question she asks him is, "Well, if you can see through things, what color underwear am I wearing?" Like, wow, Lois, you are really leading vagina first here, aren't you?
He really does.
You really get a sense of the fact when you watch these things as an adult that, my God, she wants to bang Superman so bad. And then
Lana Lane is even worse, bro.
And even more so in the second movie when they invent an excuse for the two of them to go to this Niagara Falls newlywed hotel where the bedposts are lava lamps, which might be my favorite thing in all of cinema history, that the bedposts were lava lamps. I mean, what can you even say about that? It is the greatest thing ever. But that of course is the scene where he goes to great pains to she is suspecting that he is Superman, and she jumps into Niagara Falls, and she's going to go over the edge because she figures now he's going to have to turn into Superman and save me, but he goes to incredible lengths to stay in his Clark Kent identity, but save her anyway. And throws a branch into the river and she is saved. And so she temporarily starts thinking that, okay, maybe Clark Kent and Superman are different people. But then afterward, when they are back in the little honeymoon suite, he dips his hand into the fire and doesn't get burned. And then the jig is up and she says, oh, wow, you really are Superman. And then right in that little moment of that little scene, Christopher Reeve really demonstrates that he is a far better actor than movies like this ever deserve, because just in the act of turning around and taking his glasses off, he does an actual physical and vocal transformation from Clark Kent into Superman. And I don't even know how to describe what a great bit of acting that is. Like he pulls it off so well.
I've always thought that he was imitating Chevy Chase when he was doing his Clark Kent act.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, and with the little tick he had of pushing his glasses up on his nose, and the voice was completely different too. It was really kind of astounding the extent to which he was able to make these different characters. I mean, obviously, it still doesn't get across the uncanny valley of how could anybody not realize. And then, of course, Lois Lane, after we've gotten the whole secret identity thing out of the way, and then she's got this look on her face like, okay, then, can we please bang now? Seriously, can we please bang? And he says, okay, you want to go to my place? And she's like, oh my God, yes, it's about freaking time. And then he takes her to the Fortress of Solitude, but they can't bang yet because he's got to depower himself, because as we know from Chasing Amy, if they bang when he's still got his Superman powers and he ejaculates, it's going to be like a shotgun blast right through her back and she's going to be dead, and that's going to blow the entire sex scene. So,
but they're engaged.
Doesn't matter, it can't happen.
Why not? It's bound to come up.
It's impossible. Lois could never have Superman's baby. Do you think her fallopian tubes could handle his sperm? I guarantee he blows a load like a shotgun right through her back. What about her womb? Do you think it's strong enough to carry his child?
Sure, why not?
He's an alien, for Christ's sake. His Kryptonian biological makeup is enhanced by Earth's yellow sun. If Lois gets a tan, the kid could kick right through her stomach. Only someone like Wonder Woman has a strong enough uterus to carry his kid. The only way he could bang regular chicks is with a kryptonite condom. That would kill him.
he has to go in the no powers chamber and depower himself, and then they go and have a nice little bang in the bed that's made out of like fire blankets, reflective aluminum fire blankets, which I'm sure is a really comfortable place to have sex. But